Hey, it's Charlie. And yesterday we talked about the surety of monotheism. Today we're going to talk about the surety of Christianity. Now, before I do, I'd like to reintroduce you to Abigail and Fatso. I hope you can see them there. They're here laying in my lap. And then I'll put you guys up on your pedestal where you belong. And we'll talk about the surety of Christianity. On yesterday's note, we whittled things down. We started at the beginning and we slowly but surely whittled things down to either Islam or Christianity. And we're going to continue to whittle it down to either one or the other today. There are thousands of arguments and counter-arguments that we could make. We could go on indefinitely just talking philosophy and all these things. But ultimately, I've tried to make it as simple as possible for you to understand the route that goes from a God that is to His creation and how He has revealed Himself both in nature and through a text in order to let us know about Himself and what His attributes must be like and if they correspond to it in a certain text. So that's where we're at right today. I'm going to open today's talk with a verse that Jesus said in the New Testament. In John 14:6, He said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." It's an exclusive claim. Either it's true or it's not. Remember that truth is what corresponds with reality. If something is real and something corresponds with that, then it's true. If it's not true, then it won't correspond with what's real. And Jesus made that claim. Either it's true or it's not. Now, at the beginning of our lectures, I think on day 2, or probably on day 2, we talked about logic. The law of identity, A is A. The law of non-contradiction, A is not non-A. And the law of the excluded middle, which is A or non-A. Keeping those in mind, I'd like to read you 2 verses, one from the Bible and one from the Quran. And the one in the Bible says, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life." That's John 3:16. And in the Quran it says, "Say, He is God, the One, God to whom the creatures turn for their needs. He begets not, nor was He begotten, and there is none like Him." A is A is not non-A, A or non-A. Either the statement in the Bible is true, or the statement in the Quran is true, but they both cannot be true. They can both be false. Actually, they can if you think about it, but we'll go with that right now. They both cannot be true. They're mutually exclusive, and I want you to understand that the John 3:16 that I read from the Bible is the principal tenet of Christianity, that God has a Son and that He gave His Son for the world. The principal sin of the religion Islam is the sin of shirk, and that's to assign partners to God. And that is all-inclusive. Any partner being assigned to God falls under the sin of shirk, and that includes a son. God having a son is considered shirk. It's the only unpardonable sin in Islam, and yet having a son is the only possible tenet of salvation in the Bible. They are mutually exclusive. They both cannot be. That's all there is to it. It is simply impossible. That leaves us with 3 possibilities. Christianity is true and Islam is false. And I'd like you to put a check mark next to that now, because that's the answer. Islam is true and Christianity is false would be the second, and the third is neither is true. Okay? The evidence for the reliability of the Old and New Testament is overwhelming. From the Dead Sea Scrolls for the Old Testament to the multiplicity of manuscripts for the New Testament dating all the way back to the 1st century. It is overwhelming. We could go on for months on the reliability of the Old and New Testaments. Believe me. The Bible has what's known as predictive prophecy. It says something will happen, and it does happen. And throughout human history, from the time that the first books were written by Moses up until the current day, Bible prophecy has come true time and time again. It's been fulfilled literally, it's been fulfilled actually, and it's been fulfilled precisely I mean so precisely that if we were to go through prophecy in the Bible, we could get down to the day that certain things happened thousands of years later simply by turning to the pages of the Bible. This is not the case in the Quran. It has no accurate predictive prophecy. It does make prophecies. None of them are accurate. I assure you of this. I've read the Quran. I've lived in Muslim nation. I've studied other religious systems. I've made it my life to not just blindly go into things, but I can assure you that the Bible is fully reliable in this aspect. The tenets and nature of God in the Quran violate what we have deduced by reason alone of what God's attributes must be like, his truthfulness, his love, his mercy, etc. The Quran does violate his attributes. The Christian Bible, or the Holy Bible, does not. There is no violation of God's attributes anywhere in the Holy Bible. That's just an absolute given. I got a cat that's running around here, so if you hear a noise, that's what it is. Final judgment and the standard of accepting a person into heaven in the Quran simply violates God's nature. There's no doubt about it. We will talk about that more later, but it is absolutely a given that the Quran is wrong about God's final judgment, what his attributes must be like during that time, and who he does and doesn't accept into heaven. The Bible does not. The Bible never compromises God's moral attributes or any aspect of God at all. It is absolutely correct from what we can deduce from outside the Bible. The Bible confirms the nature of God. I'm not going to get in any more depth than that. I'm going to just simply say, and we can talk about any issue in the future, but I'm going to simply say at this point that Christianity must be and is true. If it's not, the Quran is obviously wrong. If Christianity is not true, God has left us without a testimony in the world today. And that, again, would violate his own nature. And so it must be that the Bible is true concerning the nature of God and concerning God's desire for a relationship with his people and how that is expressed. It must be true. I'd like to read a quote to you from C.S. Lewis that he said about Jesus, just so there's no mistaking Jesus as God. I'm going to read this right now, and I hope you'll take it to heart. A man who was merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would either be a lunatic on the level with a man who says he is a poached egg, or he would be the devil of hell. You must make your choice. Either this was and is the Son of God, or else a madman or something worse. You can shut him up for a fool, or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God. But let us not come with any patronizing nonsense about his being a great human teacher. He has not left that option open to us. That's C.S. Lewis from the book Mere Christianity, and I'd like to leave you with that thought today. Think it over, and tomorrow we'll go on with more of our lectures. Have a nice evening.